What is Blood Debts? Or is it Ninja Jaeger? Or Eliminator? I don't know. Who cares? Anyway, Blood Debts is a Filipino-produced geriatric Vietnam veteran mustachioed overly touchy uncle, Charles Bronson Death Wish wannabe, schlock B-movie hurricane of shit whose gratuitous lovemaking makes PTSD contagious and happens to have the greatest ending to any movie ever. There, you just saw the best part of it. It's an 85-minute endurance test that is rewarded with the highest peak of cinematic excellence. So that is the what Blood Debts is, but we need to ask why the Blood Debts is, who the Blood Debts is, how the Blood Debts is. I'm not going to regurgitate a lot of plot because, well, that's not the point of this, but mostly because there's not much story there to begin with. Here's a basic rundown though. A Vietnam vet's daughter is murdered, and he goes on a revenge-fueled killing spree, which is quickly concluded by the time we're barely a third of the way into the movie. But I'd be remiss if I didn't dive into the beginning a little bit more. They decided to start the movie hot out of the gates in the most abrupt straw dogs kind of way possible. Some hooligans with guns come out of the bushes to terrorize and murder a young couple. Who knew golf courses were so dangerous? Also, apparently, Mark Blood Debts, our main character, whose name we don't find out till about 35 minutes in, lives on the golf course too, because he's apparently within earshot of hearing his daughter being murdered. Also, he's really good at taking bullets to the face, but I digress. After this, Mark freelances for a bit as a vigilante who punishes the slightest offense with death. Is it wrong to steal money from an alcoholic? Yes. Does it deserve a death sentence? Absolutely. Then he becomes a hitman mixed up in the middle of a gang war. Sounds awesome, right? Wrong. The film devolves into a convoluted flurry of bland action scenes that bleed into each other until the movie becomes a red jacket wearing fever dream. Oh, and his wife, whose name in the credits by the way is Mark's wife, dies somewhere in the middle there. Something about the 300-year-old car and camera zooming out from 100 yards away right before she explodes tells you the movie may have deemed her expendable. See, there is one thing this movie does really well, though. It's called incompetence. You know, that paradoxical thing that can simultaneously catapult a bad movie into greatness or crush the dreams of any upstart filmmaker. Here's a quick highlight reel of what I mean.
I've been waiting for you.
Recruit more pimps, more pushers.
Hey, help me. They took all my money. They took all my money.
Hey, you. Hey, monkey. Get your bananas.
How come he knew that we were after his ass?
I should also mention every single line in this movie is ADR'd. It brings an awkward, surreal quality to the viewing experience, and they frequently, not so subtly, overcompensate for this by having most characters constantly make noise even when not speaking.
Come on.
Yeah, I got your
Come on
money
and get
right
it.
here.
Eh?
So why did you come and get it, huh?
Hey, buddy, come and get the money. Eh? You hear that? He wants to get the money. No way.
You want the money back?
Time to get into the nitty-gritty of storytelling failure, though. So if it's not a film anchored by neither plot nor character, what are we left with? We're left with a film of actions. Blood Debts focuses on aimless violence, but what it gets wrong is how that violence is contextualized. This is the true failure of the movie and where we see the filmmakers are out of their depth. We could arbitrarily try and fit Blood Debts into the mold of a genre like revenge, vigilante, or even a crime movie, but what stands out to me above all is the theme of PTSD. Let's compare it to another film featuring PTSD as a major character trait and theme, Deer Hunter. One movie highlights the people, the other highlights the violence itself. I'm not going to sit here and pretend Blood Debts is a good movie. It's not. It's shit. Why is Deer Hunter good in a nutshell, though? It attempts to convey the effects of war and how these soldiers are people with names and feelings and lives. It depicts how war can morph us from people who live in an ordered society to empty zombies who can only express themselves through brutal acts. The things that separate man from animal, like language and complex structure, are stripped away. Expression itself is changed through wartime experiences. Which brings me to the ultimate point. The violence in Deer Hunter is not a moment of triumph, but of failure. That's the difference between these films, beyond the basic storytelling ability and characters who we give a shit about. Deer Hunter spends an hour with our characters at a wedding to foreshadow how life will forever be changed for these people, while Blood Debts fails to give an interior look into Mark's character. There is no contrast to Mark's rampaging, so ultimately violence just becomes an extension of Mark. We are left with the violence in and of itself without any insight into what it represents within the text of the film other than just a mechanism to get us to the next scene. Other films like John Wick do the same thing. A thin layer of plot is baked over top, but between the better acting, choreography, camera work, and direction in this specific example, John Wick works as a film and something translates to us as an audience in a dramatic way for a number of film reasons. Blood Debts is not successful in any of these endeavors. This leaves us with an ethical question. Is the last 30 seconds of the film a freeze frame of an exploding body followed by a mind-boggling blurb of barely visible white text against a cloud of smoke and body parts, worth the 85 minutes of my life I could have spent on other things like curing cancer, painting a picture, or watching the Mets lose? Can one moment in a terrible film justify sitting through the rest? I believe the answer is yes. Does this movie fail on nearly every level? Of course. We've come into this aware that we're watching schlock. When you have the practical experience of sitting down with a couple of friends and a couple beers, and leaving having had an enjoyable time. That and you just feel better about yourself after watching someone fail really hard at their job. Just me? When you leave the audience with an image they remember, a movie has done its job in my book. I'm going to remember that scene forever. I'll probably remember the Blood Debts viewing experience more than other good movie experiences I've had. It has invaded a piece of my brain and is occupying a space now, which has most likely pushed out a beloved family memory. Even the Alzheimer's I will inevitably get one day as a result from watching and thinking too much about bad movies won't be able to wrestle this tour de force of idiocy away from me. Even for all its storytelling failures, there are enough laughs in there to justify an hour and a half with Mark Blood Debts and his mustache. Maybe in a way, we owe Blood Debts a debt. Nah, fuck it. This movie owes us a debt for just having seen Mark's nipples.